in our community, because it's like these men that are so angry that they've lost the right to all these things, and that their main leader, Louis C.K., got knocked down. You know, it's like so simple. Just don't take your dick out. Like,
in a situation that so many people have been in, and didn't know how to talk about, and didn't know how to approach, and you know, in our industry too, it's like when we're, you know, some prominent men in comedy are the worst offenders, like Louis C.K. or Bill Cosby. Mm-hmm. But it's not just those guys. It's like also like I remember when I was talking about rape in comedy, like I would do these like clubs where it's all famous dudes doing comedy, and they would have like one or two women on the show, and I would do a set and talk about the stuff. And there was a really famous comedian who went up after me, who was so angry that I had poisoned the crowd. I'm like doing air quotes, poisoned the crowd by talking about rape. Oh, God. And yelling about how is that even comedy? And then I'm like, how is it comedy for you to be yelling about what I said?
Yeah. Right.
Because it wasn't funny, and he was just mad because it was this very hard thing for him to accept. For some reason, I think that they were like, comics were really feeling, male comics were feeling the that sort of thing of like their time is ending, like that their reign on whatever that is ending when somebody like Louis C.K. could be taken down. Right. You know, because if you look at him, he's like the top of his industry. I mean, nobody's ever achieved what he's achieved in comedy, really, if you think about it. But also a sexual predator. And the dumb shit about that, the dumbest thing is that if he had even just put the tiniest effort into asking somebody if they wanted to watch him jerk off, he would have had so many offers. People would have been so like falling all over themselves.
I remember Sarah Silverman saying that like years ago, like that was part of their history, that he would ask her, and sometimes she would say yes and sometimes she would say no. But apparently as his clout in the industry grew, then there was this major power imbalance that made women feel like they really couldn't say no.
Or that he I mean, it's like, I think like if you're in that position of power, then it's up to you to make the people come and ask you if you would jerk off in front of them. I think that's the only way. I think that's the only way to make it right, is if you just don't say anything and you're waiting for somebody to beg you.
Like, word's out, if we go talk to Louis, he'll let us sit there.
Yeah, I heard he likes this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like let me, because I mean, in Hollywood it's such a strange world, because when people have this perceived power, they are like emperors. You know, it's like way beyond like political office. It's like you're getting into like royal territory. You know, the way that people fall all over themselves when people are doing well in Hollywood. Yeah. So for somebody like him, he could have had any of that. He should have been conscious of the fact that it would have been an abuse of power to even ask.
But that, I think, is sort of was his thing, is that he wasn't asking, and that was like his control.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you about, I'm going to say the technical word is a kerfuffle that happened on this very podcast in the winter. Here is what had happened.
Yes.
Janine Garofalo is our very special guest. As you may or may not know, she's very close friends with Louis C.K.
Yeah.
And the issue the questions started generally about the Me Too movement, about like the atmosphere for women backstage at comedy clubs. And her point of view was Louis has suffered enough. People need to leave him alone. People need to think of his daughters.
Why?
And we were thinking and saying to her that like we were having, mostly at the time, we were having problems with the fact that he was just sort of popping up unannounced at gigs, and like the audience didn't have a chance
and
to
the
consent.
irony of that went right
like,
over his
I know.
Like, it's one thing if he's like, all right, well, I'm doing this gig anyway, pay to see me if you want to.
Yeah.
But he was popping up places unannounced, and people just didn't have a choice whether or not to consume
up to his old tricks again.
What he was selling.
I mean, it's like, the thing about it is that comics are going to do comedy. They can't really stop. It has nothing to do with like financial compensation or like even celebrity.
It's a compulsion.
It's a compulsion. Like comedy is like something that they're just going to do, and then comedians kind of are going to let them. And also because of his fame, I don't think that his fame or that sort of like moniker of genius necessarily goes away, especially in this very male-dominated world of comedy. Mm-hmm. They're not going to sort of stand by their principles about women and protecting people. They're just not, because comedy is not. It's not sort of built that way, so he's going to do sets. It's like
Bill Cosby was still selling out sets right up until he went to jail.
Yep.
Absolutely. But what's great is that with Bill Cosby, there was a lot of protesters, and even like with R. Kelly, he was doing concerts, but there was a lot of protesters. And that, I think that, that whole Mute R. Kelly movement really led to something great, and it's also with Bill Cosby. So it's like, I think that it's just going, they're going to continue to seek those audiences, and they're going to keep letting them do it, unfortunately. And it sort of goes along with the things that he did. He wasn't asking consent of anyone, so they're not going to ask consent about performance. Mm-hmm. How do you change that? And maybe it's more like the way that we talk about it, and just pointing that out. I don't think he suffered at all. Like, he's fine. He's got plenty of money. Now he doesn't have to work, unless he really wants to go to a set somewhere and, have this whole thing blow up, whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's fucking fine. Like,
what was the last bit that he did that was also rude as fuck?
Oh, he was like making fun of trans people.
I think he's just he just has no self-awareness.
Well, what he should do is run for president.
Yeah, apparently that's
Right
the best
up
way
there.
to get elected.
I mean, really, basically what he's doing is he's getting out there for 2020, getting ready. The toxic masculinity of the world is so insane. I mean, it's almost like, is this really happening? Is this like a joke? Is this like...
I didn't know that the country was this way to this extent.
I didn't realize, but now it's revealed.
I want to ask you about...